Welcome to Code Jogging. Today, we'll be looking at how to use the navigation controller in Compose UI. Okay, so what the navigation controller does is it helps us to create multiple screens and then also navigate through them. For example, maybe you might have a login page and then you have registration page. So on the login page, we might display a message that click to create new account or forgot password. Okay, so when the user click on one of the buttons, we should be able to navigate the user to that particular page. Okay, so for us to do that, then we have to use the navigation controller in Compose UI. So that's what we are going to look at in this video. In case today is your first time watching our video, please kindly subscribe and also subscribe to our Telegram channels too. So now let's continue. For us to use the navigation controller in our project, first you have to make sure that we've imported it or we've added to our Gradle file. So we have to go to this side. That's our Gradle folder. You can also find it here. Let me go to project. Yes, so we can find it here. So let me close it. Then we have to make sure that we've added this file. Okay, that's the navigation compose. Okay, so you add it, and then once you add it, okay, then you click on sync. So once it's done, then we can go back to our code and then start writing our navigation codes here. So for the purpose of this video, we are going to create only 3 screens: the home screen, account screen, and then the settings screen. That's what we are going to do. And then when the user is on the home screen, we will display 2 buttons: the one that will navigate the user to the account screen, and then the one that will navigate the user to the settings screen. And when the user visits either the account or the settings screen, there will be a button on those pages or those screens, okay, that will navigate the user back to the home screen. Okay, so that's what we are going to do today. So for us to get started, let's first declare our screen variables here, because you'll be using it more than, I think, more than 1 or more than 2 in our project. So it's better for us to declare the variable so that we will prevent ourselves from having a typo in our project. Okay, so we can create a variable here. So home screen. Okay, and then we will just name it home screen. Okay, we can use Command D, okay, to duplicate it. So we have account. Let me do it in caps. So we have account here, and then we have accounts. Then the last screen that we are going to work on is the settings. So settings, then we have settings here. Okay, so now we've declared our variables here. If you don't want it to confuse us, we can cut and then go to the top here and then paste. It's still the same. Okay, so the next step you are going to do is the most important thing that you are supposed to look at is calling the navigation controller. So let's call this one nav controller, okay, which gives us this remember, okay, nav controller. Okay, so we can put the cursor on it and then it's requesting for these parameters, but we are not going to provide any parameters. Okay, so once we've added this code to our project, then we can go ahead and then add our screens. Okay, so for us to have our screens, then we have to call the nav host. Okay, so the nav host, we are going to look at the one that will allow us to have the start destination. Okay, so we are interested in these two, the nav controller and then the start destination. We'll be looking at the routes, okay, in the maybe in the future. But in this video, we are going to look at the nav here, the start destination, and then the builder, which is the callback function. So let's double click on this. Okay, so let's delete the builder because it's our last callback function. Then we can call it this way. So we will set this one, the nav controller, to our nav controller, and the start destination is which screen we want to use as our start page or our start screen. So we want to use the home screen. So when the user launch the app or the user launch this page first, the first screen the person will see is the home screen. So we will paste it here and then we are good to go. So now we've created our host. The next step we are going to look at is to add the screens to our host. And each screen is being added by using the composable function. Okay, so if you want to add 3 screens to your host, it means that you have to add 3 composable functions to it. Okay, so the next step we are going to do is let's add our composable function. So we have the composable function here. Let's look at the parameters. It's asking for the route, the arguments, which is empty, the deep link, the same thing empty, and then the content. So the content will give us the nav backstack entry. We'll be looking at it in maybe our next video. Okay, that's with this one, it helps us to transfer data from one screen to another. Okay, so the next step we are going to look at is this one, because we are having a callback function here. Yes, that's the nav backstack entry. Now we are going to add the screen that you want to load. So which screen do you want to load? We want to load home screen, which is this. Okay, but we've not created our home screen. We can do that by either creating a new file, okay, then call it screens. That's where we can define our screens, or on this same page we can create our screen. So let's go ahead and then create our screen on this page. For us to create our screen, we are going to use a composable function. Okay, like how we create functions in our composable project. So we are going to have the composable here, and then we are going to have the function, let's say home screen. Okay, so this is our home screen. So we can call it here. Okay, and then for us to know that our home screen is working, let's have column here and then make it modifier fill, so fill max size, and then we can have vertical. Okay, and then we can have enter. Okay, but instead of using column we can even use this. I think for us to make our code simpler we have to use the box so that any item in it must be centered. Yes, we've shortened our code. So now let's add a test. So we have welcome to home screen. So welcome to home screen. Okay, so now we've called the home screen inside our nav host. Okay, so that's what we've done. So the next step we are going to do is let's run our project and see that there's no error before we continue. Okay, so now let's run our project. Okay, then let's see there's no error. Let's see. Yes, so there's no error in our code. Okay, so welcome to code jogging. welcome to home screen. So for us to make things easier, why shouldn't we reduce the font size so that, okay, so let's add this style to it, and then we add a typography. Okay, so I have this. So let's import it, and then let's use display, or let's use body medium. Okay, and then the color, let's change this to black. So let's run our code again. So yes, so we have welcome to home screen. So it means that our code is working. So the next step we are going to do is then we are going to add the other screens that you want to add to our project. That's the account and then the settings screen. So that's what we are going to do in this part. So we can go ahead and then copy this code and then paste. So let's paste it twice. Then we change the variables. So we are using these ones, the variables here. So you can copy, that's the account. Okay. And then you can copy, then we have the settings. Okay. So the next step we are going to look at is we are going to create the function. Okay. The screen for the accounts and then the settings. But before we do that, for us to navigate through the screens, we have to pass the nav controller as a parameter. Okay, so we can come here and then call it, or we can let our ID do it for us. So you pass it this way. Okay, so once we pass it, then there's an error because our function here is not accepting any parameter. So we can go ahead and then add it as a parameter. So we click on it and then refactor. Yes, now our error is gone. So then we can go ahead and then have our account screen. Okay, then we have our settings screen. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to collapse this one and then copy the entire function. So let's copy it. Let's paste it twice again. Then you have to make sure that the names of these functions matches with the new screens we've added. Okay, so now we are done. So for us to test, since we've passed this one, so we have to add a row. Okay, so we have to have a column here. Okay, so let's add a column so that we can add two buttons. So once we've added the column, let's add a row. So the rows will have modifier width, and then horizontal alignment must be centered. So let me move it to the next line. Okay, so with this, we should be able to add buttons, two buttons. And as I said earlier, that one button will take us to the home page, and then the other button will take us account page. Okay, so go to account, and then let me copy this one. So let's give it a style a little bit. So the color here should be white. Okay, and then so this is where you handle the on click. Okay, so let's copy the same code and then paste it. Then let's change this one to go to settings. Okay, so let me give it a space. So modifier height, then we can have 10 dp. Okay, So we can have 10 dp. So let's run our projects and then see there's no error in our code before we proceed. Okay, so the next step is you are going to handle the navigation. Okay, so here now we have so let me center this. Let me center this. So we have horizontal alignments should be centered. Okay, so let me break it, and then this one will have just like yes. So let me run the code again. So we are going to use the navigation handler to move to the next page or the next screen. So now let's see the updated UI. Yes, so welcome to home screen. Go to accounts and or go to settings. So for us to do that, then we have to use the navigation controller. That's the parameter that we created. That's what we have to use. Okay. So for us to do that, we go to the on click here. Okay, then you paste the variable here. That's the nav controller dot navigate. Okay, so dot navigate. So what we are going to do is we are going to pass the screen. Okay, so the screen is this one. So we are going to pass it here. That's this one. Go to account. So we've passed the account screen. So for us to do the same thing for the settings, then you have to copy and paste and then change this one to settings. Okay, so now let's run our code. With this one, we should be able to navigate through our project. Okay, so now let's wait for the screen to load. So yes, so we have our page here. So when you click on go to account, okay, now let's check the account. Yes, we didn't change this one to account. So let's do the same thing for the settings so that we will know that we've navigated from one screen to another. Okay, so let's wait for the page to load. Okay, and then let's navigate to account screen. So for us to navigate to the account screen, we click on it, and now we are on the account screen. So the next thing we are going to look at is how we can navigate back to our home screen, because now we can't go back. If you use the back here, yes, it will work. But if you want to handle the back, let's say going back to the home page inside our login page, our account screen, how are we going to do that? So what we are going to do is we can add a button. So for us not to waste much time, let me copy this button, and then you make this code. Okay, you make this code. Um, no, let's use horizontal, and then we center it. Okay, so we center it, and then we will paste the code here. Then we do the same thing. Okay, okay. So we center this one. Then we change this to home screen. Okay, so we will do the same. So let's copy this code and then do the same for the settings. Okay, so let's do the same thing for the settings. So let's change this one to settings, and then we will change it to go to home. Okay, and then let's change this one to go to home. So let's run our project again. Okay, so with this one, we can navigate through our screens without using the back press button. Okay, so let's wait for the UI to finish loading, and then let's click on the go to account. So yes, so we can go to the account, and when you go to the account, we can click on, okay, go back home, then we can go to settings. So this is how we can use the navigation controller in our Compose UI project. Okay, and why do we have to use the navigation controller? I can give you some few reasons that it's advisable to use the navigation controller. If you were supposed to use the idea that we were using in our previous videos, where we set up our own pages and then we'll be navigating through, you have to make sure that you have to handle the back press event, because if you're not using the navigation controller, there is no way that the back here will work. Once you click on it, to just close the page. Okay, and this one to it deals with um um the stack list. Okay, so whenever you navigate to a new screen or a new page, it adds to the stack list. Okay, so we can notice that when you click on back, instead of us to close the page, it's not closing. So until we've cleared the entire stack list, we will not close the page or the screen. Okay, so it's advisable for you to use the nav controller in order to prevent yourself from writing a bunch of codes to handle the back press, and when the user click on next or the user click on back, which screen I'm supposed to display and those kind of things. With the nav controller, it will handle it for you. So anytime you are writing a code and then you want to add multiple screens, then you can go ahead and then use the nav controller or the navigation compose. Okay, so you can, yeah, so that's what I want you to use the navigation controller. Okay, so in case you've not subscribed, please kindly subscribe, and then if you have any questions concerning this video or any other videos, please kindly leave it at the comment section, and then we will respond to it. And also, if you want us to customize the code for you, okay, maybe you've been trying to do your own customization and it's not working, kindly leave it as a question at the comment section, and then we'll look at it and then we'll try then make a tutorial on that for you. See you in our next video. Bye bye.